Okay, we'll start with this. Let's Go Management posted this via their social media, and it reads, WBO champion Dina Thorsland back under the lights very soon against an opponent that has yet to be announced. Two-division WBO champion of Denmark, unbeaten Dina Thorsland. It's felt like she's been missing in action the last few months or so.
We haven't heard very much.
I will say her team the last 2 or 3 years has done a very good job of keeping her active and keeping her busy. She only fought once during the pandemic, during the shutdown in 2020. She fought 2 times last year. She's already seen action back in April of this year. And if she is set to return to action, that will be her second fight of this year. So she is keeping a consistent schedule of activity.
Even if it's felt like she's been missing in action the last few months, she's still on schedule.
I corresponded with one of her handlers, Lee Eaton, by way of social media, and he said that news is coming, but she won't be fighting Nina Hughes of the United Kingdom, an unbeaten up-and-comer who's rumored to be facing WBA champion Jamie Mitchell.
Jamie, Dina.
There are 4 champions in today's bantamweight division, one of the hottest divisions in the sport right now. Ebony Bridges holds the IBF title. Mexico's own Yuli Hangaluna, she's got the WBC. Dina's got the WBO, and Jamie has the WBA.
Jamie's rumored to be facing Nina Hughes, and we'll talk about that fight in another video.
The subject at hand is Dina Thorsland's ring return. This would be her second fight of this year, and in that way, if she does have 2 fights this year, that's a consistent schedule of activity. She fought 2 times last year. She looks to be fighting 2 times this year.
I'll say that Ebony Bridges is bringing a lot of eyes to this division.
She's getting a lot of attention. Out of the 4 champions at 118 pounds, she's the most well-known. But
Dina's the most dangerous.
It's really between Dina Thorsland and Yuli Hangaluna, the 2 more experienced champions of the 4 champions at 118 pounds. Dina is one of the more dangerous champions, if not the most dangerous champion at this weight. Experienced, unbeaten.
And she's still in her prime.
Still very many good years left in this fighter's career.
No idea who it is she's going to be fighting.
One can only assume with Ebony Bridges taking care of her mandatory challenger. Rumored talks for a Jamie Mitchell versus Nina Hughes fight. God only knows what Yuli Hangaluna's doing. I don't get the sense that Dina Thorsland's next fight is going to be a unification match against one of the other champions at this weight. When she returns to action, it will presumably be a voluntary title defense. Just title defense overall.
But it won't be a unification match.
When this year started, I thought that we might see unification matches finally come to the bantamweight division that has stood divided for some years now, but that doesn't appear to be the case. It doesn't look like anybody's going to be unifying titles at 118 before this year is out, maybe next year. The silver lining is that at least Dina's not collecting dust and ring rust. She is set to return to action, and that's the most that she can do, stay busy.
Though it is somewhat unfortunate that this year has all but come and gone, and nobody's unified any titles at 118 pounds yet.
The better portion of this year, it more or less has come and gone.
There are really only 2 months left this year.
The bantamweight division being a densely populated, talent-rich division, one would have thought at the beginning of this year that we'd get at least 1 unification match at that weight. So far, that hasn't happened. Hopefully next year, that changes.
In women's super middleweight and light heavyweight news,
it appears that multi-weight champion of Costa Rica, Hannah Gabriels, has taken to social media to call out reigning undisputed super middleweight champion Franchon Crews. Franchon was in action earlier this year. She fought for undisputed at super middleweight on the undercard of Taylor versus Serrano against Sweden's own Eline Cederuz. Franchon won the fight the way I said she would win the fight, and she is now her division's undisputed champion.
Franchon responded to Hannah Gabriels' call-out by saying,
"We can do it at light heavyweight, 175. What's good?"
I like Franchon Crews to win that fight, I do.
She's a little younger than Hannah Gabriels, albeit less experienced. But she is a little younger. She's certainly more active. Hannah Gabriels hasn't seen action since April of last year. That means it's been well over a year since Hannah Gabriels had a fight. She's doing the right thing calling out Franchon Crews, because all the notariable fighters and all the notariable names, they're well below light heavyweight, where Hannah Gabriels campaigns and reigns as a champion.
Franchon Crews versus Hannah Gabriels is one of the better fights you can hope to make anywhere at or around these weights, whether it's at 168 pounds
or 175. It all depends on whose titles are going to be on the line. If I'm being honest, it might be better for Hannah Gabriels to come down in weight, come down to 165 168 pounds and fight for undisputed.
But 168, 175, all the same. It's a great fight. It's a great fight to make. A sensible fight. A sensical fight.
Both fighters, both champions share a common opponent in Claressa Shields. Franchon fought Claressa in her pro debut. She dropped a decision in that fight. Hannah Gabriels, she fought Claressa a few years later.
Hannah lost the decision as well.
Hannah Gabriels, who reigned as a junior middleweight champion for some years, currently she's all the way up there at light heavyweight. Franchon Crews is one division south at 168 pounds, super middleweight, and she's that division's undisputed champion.
Being honest with you,
I don't think Hannah Gabriel should stay at 175. She should come down to 168 pounds, see if she can't get a Franchon Crews fight, a Christina Hammer fight, and a Lean Cedar Ruse fight. There are more fights to make for Hannah at 168 pounds than 175.
nobody up there. There's nobody up there to fight.
Not for Hannah, who sports a professional record of 21 wins, just 2 losses, just 2, 1 draw, 12 knockouts, having only ever been knocked out once, just once, many years ago at the hands of the Dominican Republic's own Oxandia Castillo. She was stopped in 2 rounds in that fight. She has since rebounded. She's a champion.
She's a current reigning light heavyweight champion here today, but she's not getting any younger, and time is of the essence.
She's 39 years old. She'll be 40 come January, and it's looking a lot like this year is set to come and go without Hannah Gabriels having a fight.
That happens. That will then mean that in the last 2 years, Hannah Gabriels has only fought once, and that one fight was well over a year ago.
She needs to get a move on. We'll see if Hannah and her team can't make something happen with Franchon and her team either before this year is out or early next year.
I'm not.
Why is it all we're hearing though? Why does everyone just say that you are?
Rumors. It's like someone saying, "Yo, you've been cheating on his wife." He's cheating on his wife. No, it's a rumor, bro.
Okay, so just you haven't been negotiating a contract.
No, I haven't been selling nothing.
Not your team, no one.
Nothing.
Really? Is this something you think we could see potentially? Well, would you want that trilogy?
I don't know. Would you like to see it?
Of course we would, Del boy. Of course we would.
There's a plot twist. Apparently, what Derek Chisora is saying now is that he's not fighting Tyson Fury. It's just a rumor. That's what he told Jordan Banjo this weekend. And you have to wonder, who is Tyson Fury going to fight in December if he does end up fighting in December at
The
all?
whole idea here was to get Tyson Fury out there at least one more time before this year is out so he can tune up ahead of what could be an Usyk fight.
Which, you know, is understandable. The guy needs a keep busy fight. The problem, however, it creates is that given Tyson Fury's asking price, the fact that he's not just going to get out there for any amount of money, it creates a unique fiscal problem for the promoter, for Frank Warren, because you can't just stick Tyson Fury in there with anybody, not just anybody, and get a box office fight. You need somebody to help sell it. We talked about all of that, how they were playing around with the idea of fighting Manuel Char, of all people. Derek Chisora, he came back into the picture. He came back into it. And the virtue of fighting Derek is that Derek still does have some marquee value in the United Kingdom. He can help put some asses in some seats. Even if this isn't a trilogy that anyone is asking for, he would still certainly be a better choice than Manuel Char. Nobody wants to see someone of Tyson Fury's ilk fighting the likes of Manuel Char.
It's more simple than it sounds.
Nobody wants to see Fury versus Char. You're going to have to do better than that. And while Derek Chisora is a better choice than Manuel Char overall,
Still questionable whether or not that's a box office fight as well, because Fury already fought this guy 2 times.
yeah, it's a better fight than a Char fight. But almost anything is better than a Char fight. Overall, Fury versus Chisora, that might seem like a tough sell as well, even if it is with a more familiar face, because we've already seen Fury fight this guy 2 times. What's the point in fighting him again?
Like I said, it's more simple than it sounds. What you have to ask yourself is, are the Brits willing to pay for Fury versus Chisora 3 at the box office?
You know, Fury, he's not going to get out there for peanuts, and that's what creates the problem, that Fury's not going to get out there for just any amount of money, and at the same time, Derek Chisora characteristically drives a hard bargain. Even though he's got losses in the double digits, he still has a cult following, he still puts asses in the seats, and he's not going to fight on the cheap either. So do you have to break the bank in order to get Fury in the ring with Derek again? And if you do have to break the bank, is it even worth doing?
What does it cost to do the fight?
What does it cost in order to make the fight happen? Because if it costs too much, then you might as well scrap that idea.
It's a tough situation, like I've been saying. It's a tough situation.
It's a tricky situation because I can understand Tyson Fury needing a tune-up fight, a maintenance fight. I can understand that, but a maintenance fight...
Generally speaking, people don't pay box office prices to see maintenance fights and tune-up fights. Pay-per-view really is exclusively, or it should be,
for big fights that people are asking for, big fights that people want to see.
There are only a few circumstances where you can bill a tune-up fight as a box office fight.
A pay-per-view. And this ain't one of them, because Tyson Fury is at the height of his popularity, seemingly at the peak of his powers, and why would you want to pay box office prices for a three-peat to see him fight Derek again? You already saw that fight 2 times many years ago.
You think this is just misdirection from Derek Chisora?
I mean, it very well could be, but in the absence of an official announcement and an official fight date, one's mind is left to wonder and wander.
Derek could be fucking around, or he might not be fucking around. It might not be misdirection. He might be serious, because Derek's not going to fight on the cheap.
That's what he's not going to do. He's back in the winner's bracket. He avenged the loss to Kubrat Pulev, the loss he suffered several years ago. In his last fight, he won a decision against Pulev. He's back in the winner's bracket in what was a very entertaining fight. As strange as this might sound, Derek Chisora doesn't need a Tyson Fury to get at a 7-figure purse, a 7-figure payday. He doesn't actually need that guy to get at that kind of money. He can get at that kind of money on his own.
That's why he might be driving a hard bargain. That might be stifling negotiations. It might.
Everything we've heard up until this point has heralded a third fight between them. Everything we've heard up until this point. But now Derek's saying that no, it's just a rumor.
And if it is just a rumor and they don't fight,
who is Tyson Fury going to fight on December 3rd? If Tyson Fury fights at all.
The other implication is, in the time that you've been spending on this, you could have still been working on the Joshua fight.
I didn't see Tyson Fury taking to social media imposing time constraints and deadlines when it came to this fight, this potential matchup. But with Anthony Joshua, he seemed hell-bent on making things harder than they had to be, making things difficult.
He hasn't been uploading non-stop videos to social media the way he was with Anthony Joshua.
And you have to wonder, well, what changed? Why'd he stop?
Why aren't you pressuring whoever it is you're negotiating with now the way you were pressuring Anthony Joshua?
Here you are, approximately, what has it been, 2 to 3 weeks since the fight's collapse, negotiating with another fighter, whoever it is, whether it's Derek Chisora or someone else. You're still in negotiations, except whoever you're negotiating with, that fight ain't worth what a Joshua fight would have been worth, but you were hell-bent.
For whatever reason, Tyson Fury was making things harder
than they had to be.
Just in keeping with the theme of things that aren't happening, Showtime's Stefan Espinoza has declared
that he believes Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia is very close. He said that they have largely a deal in place with some details and the TV network situation still to be worked out. He also said he remains very, very optimistic about Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford and said he is very confident it's going to happen.
How long has he been saying that? How long has he been optimistic? How long has he been confident?
2022 is almost over. There are only about 2 full months left in this year. And if this year comes and goes with neither of those fights having taken place, neither of those fights having happened, it will reflect quite poorly on the PBC and Showtime.
This year comes and goes, and all we have to show for it, Stefan Espinoza's optimism and empty promises.
You know, the Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Davis situation, it is a bit more dicey than the Crawford versus Spence situation because Ryan is a Golden Boy Promotions fighter. He does box on the DAZN platform, so you can see that there are difficulties in association with that fight that perhaps are outside of Stefan's control. But that's when it comes to that situation. When it comes to Crawford versus Spence, well, you should have been able to at least deliver that because Terence Crawford is a network and promotional free agent. There is no opposing platform or promoter involved. It's just Terence.
And at this point, you're going to have a hell of a hard time convincing people that all of this
is Terence's fault when Terence did what you wanted him to do. You know, he's not with Top Rank anymore. He did try to cross the street.
He did cross the street. He's been knee-deep in negotiations with these people for months now, and they still can't deliver. It's on them to do it, after all.
If Errol is the A-side, and he's the cash cow at welterweight, and Showtime as a network is involved, the onus to deliver is on them. It's not on Terence.
Given everything that's going on in the sport, and what's going on that doesn't pertain to it, not directly, correctly. The situation between Paramount and Showtime, Paramount, Showtime's parent company, they're considering phasing Showtime as a platform out. What kind of budget does Showtime have left in order to do fights? Really big fights. What kind of budget do they have left in the month of October at a time when their parent company is playing with the idea of phasing them out? These are legitimate concerns. And listen, it's not even wanting Showtime and Stefan Espinoza to fail. If they can get these fights over the line, if they can deliver, that's a good thing for the fight fans. But you'll excuse me for saying so. Yeah, that would be a good thing for the sport of boxing, and it would reflect well on them. They'd get the credit if they can deliver. But if they can't deliver, after trashing the DAZN platform that has delivered several big fights, very big fights this year, still set to deliver even more fights, after trashing DAZN as a platform, taking the piss out of those guys, if you can't even deliver this after making all these empty promises. Do you remember last week Leonard Ellerby called them the worldwide leader? The worldwide leader in what? What? Empty promises? Optimism? They don't deliver these fights that they've been promising they're going to deliver. If they don't deliver these fights, it reflects poorly on them because it's on them to do it. Nobody else. You can't be the worldwide leader and fall short this much. Whatever it is, you're the worldwide leader in what category? The viewing figures for PBC's shows on Showtime, they haven't been encouraging, they haven't been promising. That's why you have to wonder if that doomsday scenario where Paramount phases out Showtime as a platform and only brings over what content boosts subscriptions. Yeah, Showtime gets most of its views for its story-based content, not its boxing. And if Paramount doesn't view the PBC's programming as part of their bottom line, as being essential to their bottom line, you know, if they bring them over, that's the best case scenario if Paramount picks up the PBC. But if they don't, there goes the neighborhood.